Welcome to our Cartney video titled, How Can I Make My Stage Show Engaging and Dynamic? Our guest today is Amy Wolter.
Hi, I'm Amy Wolter. I work for Tom Jackson Productions as a live music producer.
So, what is a live music producer?
A live music producer works with artists on their live performance, what's happening in their show, what they're doing on stage, which involves the right arrangement of a song for a live audience. Your focus is always on what the audience comes to see and hear. So that's what we base everything around is, what you're actually doing on stage, how you're doing the songs, what happens visually, a lot of different things.
Okay, let me clarify this. You're not talking about choreography, right?
We are not doing choreography. No, it is not. Occasionally there'll be a time when we, just work on something fun or whatever. But if it's a type of artist that wants choreography, Tom and I will work with an artist, work with the song, create the space for that, and then they would bring a choreographer in if they're wanting to do dance moves, but that's not our thing. And that's a lot of times a misconception about what we do.
Let's start with solo artists. Many solo artists look identical to each other on stage. What can a solo artist do to stand out from the pack?
There are actually a lot of things you can do to stand out as a solo artist. Adding variety to your set, even if in the small things, will give the audience more to grab onto and more variation. For example, if you can change instruments at all at some point in a set, that works to vary what they're seeing. Sitting down for some songs, if it calls for it, if the tunes are more ballad-like or mellow, chill, you would definitely want to sit on a stool for a couple of songs. Using a looper is a huge thing, and that actually what we do with artists is help them create moments. So sometimes even using a looper is a moment in itself for the audience to watch you creating the loop for a song and then performing over that. Doing an a cappella song is a great way to change things up. And even if you're pretty much locked to, say, guitar, we work with artists on changing a song dynamically in terms of strumming to picking to like a muted scratch to whatever it is. Changing the dynamics is huge, and to keep the audience's interest, so it's not just like strum, strum, strum. Every song starts to sound the same. So there are a lot of tools you can use. Even say you create a loop, a drum loop, or just a rhythmic thing on guitar. You let that loop play, and maybe you're even able to put the guitar down and take the mic out of the stand and walk around on stage to just that drum loop singing a cappella. Or maybe you just create a riff, and that loops over itself or over the drums. Then you can get away from the mic stand a bit. So there are lots of ways. It depends on the artist. It depends on what your thing is. We always want to take what you're doing as an artist, who you are, your vibe, your genre, your audience, and then just elevate that, make that come alive, and make that stand out.
What are some of the mistakes you see artists make?
The main one would be not preparing enough. And the other one, huge one, is not understanding what an audience wants, what they come for. Audiences go to shows to be captured and engaged, first of all. Now they wouldn't be able to articulate these things, but they go to be captured and engaged. They go to experience moments, and they go in some cases to be changed. They want to hear some hope in a lyric. Or something that you say from the stage might give them encouragement. Creating moments is the huge thing. People want to feel things. They want to laugh. They want to cry. They want to sing along. A variety of things. Those are the things that they will take home and remember and run back to your merch table afterwards and say, where's that song that made me feel like that? Because I want to experience that again. I want to take that moment home with me. So they're buying your merch. They're going to come back to your shows. You're going to get rebooked. It's just a huge difference from sitting there playing songs to creating moments. A vast difference.
Those moments, they're what the audience is going to talk about on social media when they leave the show.
Yes, exactly. They might not remember the names of your songs or whatever, but they remember that moment when maybe you came to the edge of the stage and you spoke directly to someone, or you had that sing along moment, and uh, you looked at someone and they remembered that they thought you were looking directly at them, and whatever the moment is, or when you interacted with one of your bandmates on stage and had this cool moment there between the two of you, and they connected with that. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do to just really connect with your audience and that they'll remember.
Do you have some tips for getting audience participation?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you want someone to, if it's the kind of thing where you're wanting them to actually sing along or clap with you, or mainly singing along, you need to be concise in what you're telling them to do. In other words, you can't just go, hey, sing this with me. But, it might take a little bit. You just take your time, say, all right, you guys feel like singing along? This is how it's going to go down. I'm going to sing this, then you're going to sing da 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 da. So in other words, just take your time and give them instructions, and then if they have it a little bit, you're like, no, you can do better than that. Let try it again. So just being able to instruct them in the right way and taking the time to do that.
How about tips for developing the right set list?
A set list has to take the audience on a journey. It's not something you just throw together right before you go on stage. You want to start out with, kind of a getting to know you couple of songs that we call that your opening moment. It'd be a mistake to come out on stage, and I see this all the time. It drives me nuts. It's like, hey, how's everybody doing? It's like, no, we don't know you. It's just come out, play a couple songs, and we'll check you out. Then we're ready to listen. So those first two songs really are just introductory, um, and we focus on different moments throughout the set, musical moments, touching moments, different moments, and by that I mean something different, out of the norm from kind of once they have you think you have it, if you figure it out after about three songs, then you throw them a curveball, and that could be anything from doing a cover to a little bit different genre, or you switch instruments, you switch from guitar to keys. Um, there's a variety of different things you can do for that different moment. Touching moment, you might set up a song. It's maybe kind of an emotional song that really is going to touch people's hearts. And you have a closing moment. How to close your show in the right way. You usually want to leave them up and feeling good, and walking out wanting to buy merch and before they go home. And so yes, it's definitely, and Tom Jackson has come up with a set list that really works for pretty much every genre. And we take some liberties with it here and there, but people have told us time after time, that set list really works, figuring out what kind of moments your songs are, and then we plug them into this set list, and it's amazing how well it works.
Artists need to develop a plan for any transitions that are going on in their show, right?
we do work on transitions about as much as we work on the actual song moments, because if you have these great moments and then you're just stumbling around between songs and not knowing what you're doing, that's a big mistake. And you don't want to talk between every song. Uh, B, you've got to figure out, what's going to allow this transition to be smooth, so I can switch guitars. So you work that out with your drummer. Maybe your drummer counts it off. It starts the beat. Maybe the guitar player is playing a little riff while you're doing that, so that you don't have to talk between every song, but you work those things out in rehearsal so that you're just not winging it, because that rarely works. And it's uncomfortable for the audience too. Yeah, as a solo artist, that's critical in knowing, okay, I'm just going to go right into this next song, or I've got something worked out to say, that will introduce the next song and make it flow well. Or maybe you get the audience, maybe just keep them clapping or keeping them singing a line while you switch guitars, and then or switch instruments, and they're filling it for you. There's some creative ways to do that.
What can artists who aren't good at banter between songs do to help with the song flow?
That was a real issue for me as an artist, because I could talk on stage, but then I would start getting off on a tangent, and not getting to a point. So what I ended up doing was working on it ahead of time, worked out what I was going to say, and then on my set list, I would put, like, between songs, I would put the first couple words of what I was going to say that I had already worked on, and all I had to do was look down at those first few words, and then I knew I was going to be on the right track. But yes, I'll work with artists, all the time on what to say, and not just, you got to try to stay away from the name of this next song is, or this next song is about. You take us into the story. Where were you when you wrote it? What was the story behind the lyric? And just start right in on that. Um, People will connect the fact that it's probably about the next song, so you don't need to say that. So we try to get creative with telling the story and taking us there and making us feel like we're inside the song already. So that's key. That's huge in setting up a song. And not every song has to be super deep. Sometimes it's a matter of a couple of lines, that you say that gets people thinking, oh, yeah, I never, wonder what this is about, you know. But yet, then when the lyrics come, they're kind of keyed into it already.
How much of a show should be planned and rehearsed ahead of time?
We try to rehearse as much of it as possible. Like, if I'm working with an artist, if we got the time, we work on everything from the right song arrangement. It starts with that. It starts with the arrangement of the song for a live audience, because a lot of times we're expanding intros, messing with the bridge a bit, maybe doubling, tripling it, because there's some cool things happening there. Um, the endings, the outros. Sometimes we play around with guitar solos, make them extend them some. So it starts with the right arrangement. Then we say what needs to happen visually to make this come alive and to make it connect with the audible with the visual. Because if that doesn't make sense, then we're kind of missing the boat. So once we rehearse the arrangement, then we figure out the visual, what's happening. Are you running around the stage? Is the band connecting? Are you sitting on a stool? Are you playing guitar? Whatever it is visually that's happening. And then we work on those transitions, like I talked about, between songs. Who's doing what? Who starts the song? Who's talking? All that. So yes, we rehearse every bit of it if we can, if we have the time. But you should on your own. But that doesn't mean it has to come out canned. A lot of people are afraid of that. Oh, if I prepare too much, it'll be canned and cheesy. No, This enables you to relax. So if you have it so prepared, by the time you get on stage, you're like, okay, now I can just have fun with it. I know what I'm doing. And then, yeah, you can go off on a tangent or change up maybe what you're going to say, or go with a moment like somebody said something in the audience that made you think of something, and then you go that direction. But you've got this plan to get back to that because you've worked on it, and it's there, and you can totally relax. And
So the goal is to rehearse the show so much that it looks natural and spontaneous.
yeah. And unless you're playing the same audience, the same venue week after week after week, you can do the same show, go out and do the same show on a tour. I mean, Carrie Underwood doesn't change her set every night. They've got they've got the set, they've got everybody knows where they're going, and people love it. And in fact, people go back to it time after time if they can. A lot of fans. So you don't need to be afraid of that. Now, granted, if maybe you play the same venue 5-6 times a year or something, and it's a lot of the same audience comes to see you, you can make some changes. But for the most part, if you're creating great moments, they want to come back and see those again. So, yeah.
Do you think a very dry artist can still put on a strong show?
I think so. Yes, yeah. I mean, if you're willing to work on it as much as you work on either your songwriting or playing your instrument or your vocals, I mean, granted, I've run into maybe one or two artists that came to me that I thought, there's just nothing there. But that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare. And I've been doing this for 15 years. So, I think everyone can, I'll tell you this, everyone can get better, at least better than, where they are. If they're even down on the lowest rung, we can improve the show and give them some tools to work with. Usually, as an artist, okay, I know I need to be doing something here, or moving, or saying something, but they just aren't sure what. But giving them the tools that allow them to do that then gives them total confidence than to just go out and crush it and feel really good about what they're doing, because they've got the tools and the skills to do it.
Do you think taking acting, storytelling, or even improv classes can be helpful?
Yeah, I guess depending on the artist. I mean, if you're a funny person but you just need help channeling that, maybe, yeah, maybe you might want to take improv or something like that. I Acting, well, yeah, storytelling definitely. That's always great, because if you, especially if you're just like a singer songwriter, it's going to be more intimate by virtue of the fact it's you and a guitar or you and a keyboards or whatever. So storytelling comes into play a lot more in those intimate settings. Acting, a lot of times theater rules are different. Like, for example, bands always think, oh, I can't turn my back to the audience. Well, yes, you can. In fact, you should. So, for example, here's the lead guitar player and here's the singer. So here's the singer up front of the stage. So when the lead guitar player has a solo, if the singer turns around and the lead guitar player is coming up, visually we know, look at this guy, because he's got the lead. And then when he's done, he turns his back, makes the audience look where, they're watching the lead singer, because he's going to come forward. So the visual tricks help the audience connect the dots more on that. So in that respect, the theater rules are, sometimes opposite and can mess you up. But in a lot of ways, the people that I've worked with that have had a lot of acting experience, it does help. But we don't usually say go out and get acting lessons. But if somebody's got a real problem with, because it's a little awkward at first at rehearsal, because you have to pretend there's an audience there, and it's letting your guard down to try a lot of new things. And it's like picking up a guitar for the first time when you're a kid. You're like, oh, this is awkward. So you feel like, in some sense, you're like, trying to get used to that. The same way with, like, say, movement on stage. If you've never done it, it's going to feel awkward. So the repetition and doing it over and over, well, that now it's not so awkward anymore. Now I can play and sing at the same, play and walk at the same time. So yeah, it maybe acting would help in some respects, but uh, definitely not a requirement.
Do you work with clients on a long term basis, or is it mostly short term?
Yeah, well, a lot of times budget and time will dictate the frequency. I've got a lot of artists that continually call me and say, "Oh, we've got this coming up. Oh, we've got a new CD out. We've got we're going to work on a whole new show. Let's go back in rehearsal." Or I had a girl say, "Oh, I'm doing the Grand Ole Opry for the first time. Help me with these, two songs, and what do I say between, and different things like that." So yeah, we have a lot of ongoing clients, and that's the best way, it because it really is a process. Um, then again, some people would grab it and then know how to apply it down the road, and we may only see them once or twice, just because maybe they don't have the budget, or maybe they really got how these skills translate now to other songs, and they're off and running. And but yeah, it's a process, and I love the chance to keep working with the same artists, because I just see them grow and develop, and each time it gets better and better, because they're already onto it. Now let's just take it to the next level with these new songs, or for this showcase, or this gig, or this tour.
Do you have any final thoughts for anyone thinking that their live show really needs some improvement?
I can't emphasize enough how much it will help your career. It is really a career changer for a lot of people. For example, there have been several artists, that when I started working with them, they weren't that good, or maybe the songs weren't there yet, but they showed some promise. Um, but we worked on the show. The show was stellar. They went out there and just killed it. Their audiences did not know their music, hadn't heard them before, but they went out there, and because their shows were so good, one band got picked up, got the interest of the original manager for Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue. Another band did a summer festival tour. No one had heard him before. They blew everybody away. The promoter, they were all they were side stages at every festival. The next year, they got put on main stage for every single festival, just because they blew people away. No songs on the radio. So, time after time, this stuff works. And Vinny, you know that, you get it. But yeah, don't put this last, because this is the thing that most of your income will be derived from, is the live audience. And then you're going to sell more merch, get repeat fans, get booked again, because it's an experience. People go away thinking, wow, I really felt that I had all the feels. you know um, so it's something but it's a lot of times the last thing people think about. And managers and labels will say, "Oh, you just need to go out there and play a lot, just go get experience." So you tour for years and doing it the wrong way. So that doesn't really help. If you don't know what you're doing, you're just establishing bad habits. And a lot of times that's what we spend half our time on, is breaking, especially for more experienced or older bands. They're already kind of got their habits down, and it's harder to change those. But just getting rid of the distractions, maybe the typical bar banter that they've been used to. But we're going next level, so we're trying to eliminate all the rookie amateur type things.
This concludes our video titled, How Can I Make My Stage Show Engaging and Dynamic? We want to thank our guest Amy Wolter for sharing her incredible expertise and experience with us.